Alright, I'm back here. I'm going to move that so you can see my device there. My purpose of turning on the video camera today was to go through a couple of things somebody's asked about that come up rarely, but enough. We're going to talk about disassembly, and we're going to talk about adjustment of a lock, the adjustment of a liner lock. What we've got here is a USA made K-bar. This one is the clip point of the version of this knife. Good God, could they make the writing any smaller on there? It's a 4050. It's a D2 blade. This is one that it's got up and down clicking, and it's got a little bit of play, and as you can see probably from, at least I'm assuming you can see it, the lock is traveling pretty far all the way across almost, you know. In fact, it's probably 90% if not 95%. But anyway, I don't know that we'll fix all that, but what I was going to show you was the way that cutlers normally repair a lock of this nature if there's no other way to worry with it, and it's effective. It works if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really screw things up, and it can really go south on you pretty quick, and you can end up ruining a good knife. So it's not something that is recommended for everybody. In fact, it's not recommended for everybody, because if you're one of those people that, you know, is all thumbs, well, you're not going to get very far. Now, what you would do is you would notice when you open the knife up, this particular folder is it's a nested type of a lock, is what they would call it. So what that means is it's sitting on there working as the lock, but it's connected kind of like the Spyderco militaries, various folders of that nature, and the lock itself is just an insert that could theoretically, if this knife was brand new, or if you could find a parts knife, you would just pop a new lock in place, and you know, case closed, you got a brand new lock. Now that's providing precision is there. When you don't have that, you want to do a little trick that we would call peening the lock, and so you would basically put a peen, and you want not a big bulky hammer. I just use a little hammer like so on most of these liners. This one's probably magnetic. It's probably 410 stainless or something of that nature. Doubtful that it's harder than 45 Rockwell. Okay, so you know, it's going to be peen material. You can put a 3/32 flat end punch of a good quality where the lock contacts, and it's going to be just above the detent ball on most of these type of locks. And if you look on the lock first, you can see where it's been abrading. And so you put your peen hammer there, you're looking, you mark, and you peen. And now, if you did your job right, when you put it back together, it should do one of two things. It should be a holy nightmare and not even work, or it should just work great. And in some cases, you may not have hit it hard enough, and it may not have even changed. But that's what they call peening the lock. And I'll show you here in a minute just where that was peened from. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, I'm assuming that you can see it. I peened it right there. And if we look on the face of the lock, we can see that it's been abrading pretty much in that same spot. So what we did was we just created a little bubble to come out there just to fill this gap that's right in here. and we want to fill that gap just a little bit. Now if you notice on these liner locks and frame locks too, if you take a typical lock like this right here, now on a frame lock, of course, that lock's going to be a lot wider. It's going to have a line coming down here, so you're going to have a big lock. Looks all big and impressive, but very little of that lock is actually connecting to the blade. What you've got here is a situation where the bottom is all that should be touching. Now technically this would be the bottom, okay? So you want the bottom of the lock, and if you see here, the bottom of the lock is where the block is contacting. It might look like it's connecting inside of here, but I guarantee you it's not. It might look like it's connecting, and when I say inside of here, I'm down here by the detent ball. There's actually no contact in here. It just looks like there is. It's only hitting right up in here. And when the stop pin is in place, it's only hitting the stop pin right there, you know, where it marks the blade. And that gives you your triad of contact, so you've got a good stable platform. And if it's all connected right, it should work. And if your angle is the way it should be and everything's set as it's supposed to be, you should have a good folder. So let's find out how we did. I'm kind of curious too. And this knife's a little tricky to get together sometimes because it's got a bushing, and it's a little bit of a Chris Reeve pain because it's got one of those that you have to fit it, you know, right over the frickin' washer to make it work. And that thing is just filthy. That ought to clean it up pretty good. Oh yeah. Had grease all over it. Chunked up, dried, whatever it was. I don't know. There we go. Now we're down. That one's filthy dirty too. You see, you know, most people don't take their knives apart and maintain them. You would think that just like they do anything else that's a machine with moving parts, that they'd occasionally do that. But most people don't think to do that. And a lot of them end up with pivots that are loose and all kinds of things wrong with them that shouldn't be wrong with them. And it's all just based on routine maintenance of what you should be doing to maintain your folder that has screws in it. I mean, if it's got screws in it, you want to make sure that you do the proper maintenance to keep from losing the screws. So you're going to want to come out there now and then to your shop, and you're going to want to take your knife out of your pocket, and you're going to want to just go over every screw and make sure it's tight and that it's the way it's supposed to be. Most people don't do that though. They wait till something happens, kind of like with their teeth. Here we go on dentistry again. And they wait till they have a problem, and then it's an issue. I guess that's human nature to some extent. You know what? We took the play out of it. It no longer clicks. Yeah, it's solid, but it's still traveling. It's a little improvement. It's not bad. Let's see what it does when I tighten it up all the way. That's still got some room for adjustment. Ideally, you shouldn't have a lot of side-to-side play with these. Oh, that improved it quite a bit. Once the pivot was tight, that even centered the blade a little bit. Oh yeah. See, now we've got us a good user. We got us a good user with a peened lock that's adjusted. It's not refreshed all the way to where it's clear on the edge, but that's a good fresh lock. It passes the oomph test. I'm not going to spine whack it because these little thin locks, that's probably what damaged it in the first place, you know. And these nested ones in particular are usually thin, so you don't want to be doing a lot of whacking like that, especially when you see just how small the actual surface area of the contact is on most of these knives. You look at the mark that's been left on the blade from the stop pin. You see that line? It's very small. That's usually all that's connecting here at the lock where it joins. So when you're going around beating that, you're beating that little tiny area, just pounding on one little small spot, you know, probably not even a millimeter square in a lot of cases. And it can really take its toll on a liner lock pretty fast. But, you know, a good one can take quite a bit, and it's surprising that so many do. Anyway, that's one adjustment people have asked about, and I thought I'd address it while I had time. Thank you.